All right. So we have 15 minutes, but we have 4 topics to cover. So I'm just going to fly through all of them in about 10 minutes, and then leave 5 minutes for QA. And then also, if if there's people interested in anything, there's the contact info. It's on the back. So the main title for our presentation is a severe COVID-19 severe outcome risk prediction. We're using it using machine learning on massive amount of medical records and social data. We're a team of we are a team of 8. Now there are actually multiple research aims. One is the top 2 are more data science, specific problem domain solving. The later 2 are more kind of machine learning techniques. So there are mini papers attached to any 4 of these topics. So again, feel free to click on the presentation link and see these mini papers. So first of all, I'm going to fly through the presentation deck real quick. So we are a non-for-profit applied AI R&D organization operating at the intersection of AI, privacy, blockchain, and digital health. And we've got a whole bunch of interesting projects going on in the case in genomics, data science, health analytics, drug safety, blockchain, and the most active one is the privacy and security, private and secure AI. And there's 20-some people on this not-for-profit organization, but 8 of them, quite a few of them are MD PhDs on this particular COVID-19 project team. So the main aim is COVID-19 severe outcome risk prediction, but we're also going to touch on social determinant of health and risk factors. And then the other 2 are kind of, supporting. So we'll get into that. Now, first, let's talk about data. So we are part of a large research consortium. So we are using about 90 million patients, 7 years of claims history, over 3 billion claims line items. And the attributes are like ICD diagnosis code, CPT procedure codes. So among the 98 million people, there are about 200,000 COVID-19 patients. And then we have about 36 million patients, outpatient EHR records with about 16,000 confirmed COVID patients. And then we've got a hodgepodge of social data, including linkage of social data, such as people behavior predictors, with a death registry of 80% of US population in 95,000 COVID patients. So these are all de-identified, but these are all personal level data. And they are donated by claims clearing houses, EHR vendors, and social marketing companies. And here are the attributions. So let's focus on the first aim. The primary aim is machine learning for clinical prognosis. So we are going to create machine learning models to predict a patient's risk of severe clinical outcome if they're infected by COVID-19. And the severe outcome is defined as hospitalization, ICU, intubation, ventilation, ECMO, which is a heart-lung bypass, death. So these personalized risk factors obviously can be used in many ways, can help citizens make informed decisions about their work and life choices in the pandemic, help with the clinical prognosis, help with public health. So I'm not going to go through the usual model, machine learning model development. Now, there is a good bit of a feature engineering going on because, as we know, claims data is notoriously messy, high dimensional, and sparse. So we're going to use some techniques and machine learning called embeddings, basically project high dimensional data into low dimensional vector space. So there's a whole bunch of very interesting clinical concept embedding work going on in machine learning. So this is a way of doing feature engineering. Now, then there's the data labeling part where we take the 200,000 also patients and look at their ICD diagnosis code and CPT procedure codes and go through kind of a claims manual to label the data, mark them as hospitalization, ICU, whatever outcome we try to predict. Again, we are about a month and a half into a year-long project, so we have some early finding to show. And our number one goal, immediate goal, is to predict somebody's likelihood of hospitalization if they're infected with COVID-19. So this is early discovery, so we pull out the top 20 procedures of COVID-19 patients. Again, not going through the details, but these are actually not very surprising for, kind of in line with the literature. Top 20 co-occurring diagnoses with COVID-19. Again, this is not prediction, this is just descriptive analytics, hypertension and all that stuff. So one of the aims of our project is to validate or invalidate these popular beliefs in the literature. Now, but then the second part is to do machine learning, deep learning, to hopefully uncover previously unknown insights. So this is future work. Oops. So we built a machine learning model using the aforementioned data and the label. For this first round, we are using a baseline model of random forest, about 200,000, 200 trees. The hospitalization results yield a report of precision and recall of about 48% and 87% respectively. So for those of you, need a quick refresher. So we right now, because it's a baseline model, we're trying to optimize toward recall, try to reduce the false negatives. So we are catching about 87% of the COVID-19 patients in the data set. Then these are the top 45 features by their importance in the random forest model. And if you look at them, they are, they're actually pretty in line with what the literature says. We used a good bit of manual feature engineering to create about 100 handcrafted features, and these bubbles to the top, things like zip code, which is kind of proxy for people's location, age, heart conditions, chronic kidney conditions, stuff like that. So they are so far pretty in line. So then the second one we did is on social determinants of health and risk factors. Again, we have about 90 attributes of social data from this company called Analytics IQ of over 34 million patients and 95,000 COVID-19 patients. So we look at the impact of demographics, behavioral risks, and predictors, such as motivators. So we took a step at looking at occupation, looking at the COVID-infected people against the total population within that data set with the same occupation. So the bigger bar here is the blue. Basically, the relative difference between the blue bar and the orange bar is the higher likelihood of somebody's getting a higher exposure. In this case, based on population. Based on occupation. So interestingly, because this data is about 1 week old, and schools are still closed and everything. So we are looking at educators, students.
You have 5 minutes.
Okay, great. Educators, students, medical workers, and physicians, we suspect these people might be of particular interest. So the educators are higher risk. Students are low, but will remain to be seen when the schools are open. So, so we could go to also do by ethnicity, do by comparing the COVID death with COVID infection within the ethnicity. So long story short, the Hispanic population, more than African American, actually has a higher COVID illness burden. So there's more data there. So there's a whole bunch of future work for these two clinical threats or social clinical threats of work. We're going to improve the model performance, add clinical concept embeddings, add a time series temporal features, add more classification categories, and then also you use electronic health record data in addition to claims records, and creating more dashboards. And then as the pandemic progresses, we're going to get into kind of drug and vaccine effectiveness, safety, and then long-term consequences of COVID-19 after we're over the pandemic. And then we're going to get some deep learning models to churn on these data. So I'm just going to touch on this real quick. The constraint of our environment is these data are contained in in a very isolated, secure environment due to extremely high sensitivity for privacy and security. So we won't be able to directly use this model trained on patients' data for making predictions. So instead, we're going to use some advanced techniques in collaborative machine learning using obfuscation, aggregation, and knowledge transfer to train the model. To first train the model using the private data, then use the model as a teacher ensemble to train a student machine learning model, and then release that student machine learning model to public for use. And so there's a lot of data sharing challenges, and we got a platform going, and we have the different ways of analyzing the privacy risk, design and model architecture, and this is the very quick high-level survey of privacy-preserving techniques as of 2020, from the data angle, from the machine learning angle, from a cryptography angle, and from the P2P computing, peer-to-peer decentralized computing angle. So it's very vibrant but emerging field of study. How do you do privacy preservation on machine learning? How do you train and learn from the models, learn from the data that you cannot see? It's a very interesting thing. So anyway, so we have all kinds of measures and stuff like that. So I guess I have a couple of minutes. Any quick questions from the audience?
Thank you very much. I don't see any questions, but you are right. You guys are doing a lot of things, and yeah,
Nandini,
interesting.
There are questions, Nandini, in the Q&A.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Can you read them, Jun? Because I can't see them. I don't know why.
Okay. So first question, if data sets are contributed, they seem to be data of opportunity. How do you know your results generalized to the population? Or what measures do you take to assure that? And how to be sure your data are cleaned and balanced?
Oh, okay. The data is very imbalanced by nature because COVID-19, especially somebody's severe outcome like ECMO, heart lung bypass, it's very rare. So they are imbalanced by nature. So we do a lot of machine learning tricks using upsampling, downsampling, all that sort of techniques to address this not uncommon problem. Now, as for the data, because our data set is very, very big to begin with, right now we are doing a 60% training set, 60, 20, 20. So 60% of the data is used for training, 20% of the data is used for testing. So, so between the training and testing, that's how we tune the machine learning model. And then the remaining 20% is used for validation. So this 20% is not seen, never seen by the machine learning model. And then we use those test sets to make sure, those validation set to make sure that the machine learning model generalized well, not overfitting or underfitting.
The next question is from Peter Meyer. I'm interested in the occupation differences. Where is the occupation value coming from in the data? Is it in the EHR?
Oh, okay. The occupation data comes from the social study of, so we have the tens of millions of citizens with collected, 90 attributes collected by this marketing company called Analytics IQ. So they do their thing and they aggregated, they cross-correlated the occupation data and merge it with a claims data set. So that from the claims, we know who are infected, who are not infected, and then the same people have different occupations. So by joining of these two data sets, and then also cross-join with the death index, we do the calculation there.